And we are going to be faced with tactics that they will use. Tactic number one, argue the federal government can't be a force for good, and then go out to prove the federal government can't work. Tactic number two is to propose cuts without any specifics. Across the board cuts, vague cuts, talk about cuts, oh, we're only going to cut waste, fraud, and abuse. Well, we've had Republican control of the executive branch. So far, we haven't elected a president who knows how to cut all the waste, fraud, and abuse without just cutting the entire program. Yes, we can run things better. Yes, there are things that Obama's doing and his OMB director's doing to make the government work better. And we've all dealt with government. But that's like saying you're going to eat hamburger, but you're not going to eat the fat in the hamburger. Yes, you can work toward leaner beef, leaner ground beef, but if you decide, oh, somehow, I'm not just going to have lean, I'm going to have beef with no fat in it at all, that's a good concept, but I haven't found a place to buy it. They don't know how to make it. And if you say the federal government will only be allowed to operate in those programs where there's absolutely no inefficiency, then I would turn to all of us in our private sector and our personal lives. I've wasted, how much time does everybody waste in the morning getting up? How much time, if we abolish every activity in which there's any inefficiency, we abolish the activity. So the argument now is going to be about these appropriations bills. And the object of the Republican will be to say, well, of course we can have a 5% cut across the board in discretionary domestic spending. But that doesn't mean we should have 5% fewer FBI agents. Oh, we didn't mean that. Okay, so the FBI is going to be safe from the 5% cut, so some other agency is subject to a 10% cut. Oh, we like that particular agency. They're not going to be cut 5 or 10%. They should be cut 0 or 10. Oh, so the next agency now needs to be cut 15%. It is easy to appeal to the American people and say, we want to give you all the government you're used to and all the programs you're used to at less cost. And our way of doing it is an across-the-board cut, and if Obama can't figure out how to spend less money to give you more services, it's his fault. I don't know how this is going to play out, but we have our work cut out for us. The next election, elections have consequences. The next election is going to be critical. It's probably going to be decided on the economy. And often, you have an election in which the economy was, in the prior 2 years, either spectacular or disastrous, and the party in power says, vote for us because it's spectacular, or you vote against that party because the economy was disastrous. This is going to be a much more complicated election. First of all, which party's in power? Second, is the economy that we're going to see 2 years from now a good thing or a bad thing? It's not going to be spectacular, and we're not getting the disaster that George Bush gave us in 2008, and we're not getting the good economy that we got under Clinton in 1998. So you're going to have a slightly improving economy that people can argue about. Is it good? Is it bad? Did we make the right decisions? And you're going to have divided government, so you don't know who to give the credit to or the blame to after you figured out whether you want to give credit or blame. All I can say is if the other side wants to nominate Sarah Palin, who am I to stop? So we have, as far as progressive accomplishments, we didn't get single payer, we didn't get public option, but we got a health care program. We got regulation of tobacco. We've got the credit card bill of rights, which I co-sponsored. We've got the financial reform. It wasn't everything I wanted, but it was a fur piece better than what we had before. We are in the process of eliminating Don't Ask, Don't Tell. We haven't reached marriage equality, but we did pass the Matthew Shepard Hate Crimes Prevention Act. But one of the questions they asked me was, what happens to the bills that passed one house but didn't pass the other house last year, such as the DREAM Act? The downside there is we start over. So, and I wish I could tell you that the unfinished work of the 111th Congress is going to get done in the 112th. If we're going to see progressive action taken, it's got to be things that the president can do without congressional involvement, such as actually implementing the end of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and a host of other things that can be done only through executive order. As to what Congress will do, let's hope they don't make things, or we don't make things worse, and we'll do a few nonpartisan things. I mean, we'll pass the, Weights and Measures Verification Improvement Act. And I'm hoping that we keep the conforming loan limit up at $729,000, $750,000 for those of you familiar with refinancing a home or selling a home. But those things that really separate the forces of light from the forces of darkness are going to remain in the shadows for the next 2 years. And then we're going to have an election. Not one of those smaller elections where only some people show up. We're going to have a big election. And one side or the other is going to win that election, and my guess is that whoever wins the presidency is going to control both houses of Congress as well. And we're going to be, for the first time in a while, on the front lines, both in the legislative races for Sacramento, but also for Congress. Last year, I had to tell people, can you drive to Orange County? Can you drive to Las Vegas? Can you make calls to Ohio? Now, just can you bicycle to Agoura? The front line will be closed. Now, they haven't drawn the line, so I don't know where they are. But you will be within, if you got a 10-speed, you will be within bicycling distance of an all-out fight between Democrats and Republicans. The front line will be close to where we are. It'll save on gas and allow you to get involved. I have no idea whether the hot race will be whether we keep Sherman or whether we get rid of Gallagly, but things are moving in that direction. And get rid of Gallagly. That doesn't sound good. I wanted to make it less personal. Just elect somebody good to represent Inland Ventura County. That's the way I wanted to phrase it. In any case, I should open it up for questions and ask you all to come back to this campus on May 15th.